So now it's my turn to introduce Mathias. And as Mathias said, we've known each other for a long time. We've been collaborating on really fun stuff. And Mathias is one of the coaches at Crisp with the broadest knowledge, I think. I'm so impressed by the breadth of his knowledge. He is goes into coding, pipelines, delivery, estimations, and then onto teams. Today we'll talk about leadership teams. He's good at product management, growth. I think you're really into AI as well, and new forms of organizing as well. So the list goes on and on. So I think you're one of the had the most breadth in the knowledge. That's really impressive. What you also could know about Mathias is he's an avid gamer. He's also a biker and a skier.
Yes. Yes.
Some nice hobbies there. So, and today Mathias will talk about aligning as a leadership team before starting major transformation. Welcome, Mathias.
Thank you so much, Michael, and welcome especially to you people who are here in this talk. I think you've come to the right place, and I'm going to talk about something that's really, really important, that's very warm to my heart, and that's major transformational change. I'm not going to talk today about what you need to do as a leadership team to just kind of solve a few problems or improve. I'm going to try to speak about major change. I'm talking about senior level leadership, company level, okay, or business unit. And so my topic is really about that alignment. So imagine that you're in a big company and you're known for a while that we have some challenges that we just need to deal with. It's been this growing hunch for quite some time, right? We might have to do something bigger than what we've been doing before, you know. Maybe the problems we're having can't be solved it has to be solved with a different thinking or different tools or different approach, something else, right? We need to, have a different approach. So what do you do at the leadership team level? How much should you be talking before you can launch a major transformational initiative? How much should be done, and how much is just enough? That's what I'm talking about. And it's really about creating a good starting position for major change. So I'm going to start first with a bit of a poll. And let me just start the poll here somewhere. So I'm sure you guys have your own experiences, right? So I want to hear first from you. How many of you have been part of a major transformation? Have you seen a major transformation, and what was your impression of how it went? So yes, it succeeded, yes, it failed, yes, it was inconclusive, or the jury's still out, or it was partial success, whatever, or no. I haven't been part of a major transformation, and maybe that's why you're here, because you're curious. So let's hear a little bit what you guys have in terms of experience. Okay, we see the bars moving. This is exciting. We're doing it live. Nobody can say we did this as a recording, right? All these talks are live. That's what we're doing here at Crisp. And if you have problems technology-wise, just ask for help in the chat. Okay, well, I think that's enough sample size for now. You can continue with this poll if you want. I'll leave it on. And maybe we'll take a look at the end. But for now, yes, it was inconclusive. 60% of the people responding here was quite a good sample size, I would say. Yes, it succeeded. No, but I'm curious. I don't see a single failure here, which makes me very suspicious. But that's a good thing. Maybe the people who are attracted to Crisp know what they're doing, or have just had good experience in general. And as I'm saying that, we have one person who has seen failure. That's good. Failure is how we learn, right? All right, so here's the table of contents that I intend to cover today on this topic. It's a big topic, but I'm going to boil it down to 3 key areas, right? And again, this is about senior leadership alignment on a major transformational journey of change. It's not just fixing single problems, it's shifting into something new that's just much more well set up, right? Number 1, why, right? Might seem obvious, but it's really why can't we just stay the same? Why do we need to take that step and get over that threshold of, committing to a major change effort, right? 2, the end of the rainbow, right? Imagine there are no problems at all. What could be possible if we succeed, right? Getting the necessary alignment on the leadership team level about what that is. The third topic is something often neglected, and that is alignment on what is it that requires continuity and safety over the course of that change. A lot of times we have something we want to preserve. Maybe we need to take with us that we already have in our organization that we need to be successful, something we don't want to change. What is that? Getting some alignment on that. And the third piece is alignment on just the reflection of what is this going to require in terms of leadership and decision making from us at the senior level. So let's jump right in. So the first topic is why. Why not just stay the same, right? The clients I usually work with, it's usually one of these 4 that it really boils down to, right? The driving forces for major change, right? The first one is the ability of the company to exploit market opportunities, right? So it's really about, we see these are market opportunities, we believe we can compete and get there, but we just don't have the ability to connect. Either it just takes too long, or what we're doing with our product and services doesn't resonate. We don't get the traction we need, right? So this could be because we can't innovate. That's a big one, oftentimes. Or we just build products and change services, we just don't see the traction. The situation can be, we've been living many years on old successes, these cash cows, but every year that passes, we just see revenue declining. We see competitors kind of taking pieces off our market shares. We need to do something, right? This could be one area of driving forces, right? And the second driving force is, we're competitive. We have customers, we have demand, we have successful products, but other competitors are just beating us. We're still not, we're not competitive enough. So this could be a variation of the other one. This one is more about we're just getting beat, right? The first one, we can't get to the market opportunities. So variation of the same, if you will. And the third one, it's really about the value of investments. It could be frustration. We're putting so much money into this. We're just not getting the value, right? We might have problems in organization that are just too big to ignore, and it's just multiple issues, right? We might not have the competencies. We might have problems in our culture. We could have, disconnect. We could have an organization that's just not effective from an investment point of view. We're not getting the value back, right? We need to do something. Our operational capabilities just aren't clicking, right? And the fourth one, pretty more important, especially growing year by year, is we're losing out on acquiring talent, right? We're willing to spend money on good talent. We just can't get them through the door into the building, right? Or we're just not seen as an attractive employer. And we need to change that, because if we can't get the brightest people into the building, we can't innovate, we can't exploit market opportunities, we can't tackle the harder problems that customers are willing to pay more for, whatever that story might be. But it's really about getting access to the right talent, right? So again, what we're talking about, having a shared view on these driving forces of why we can't just say the same. So there's a couple of questions I would advise you to consult and discuss, right? And these are the 3 questions, right? So One thing you can do in your leadership team is first individually and then in conversation, try to answer these questions. Number one, what are those key challenges we need to overcome to reach our goals? And what I'm talking about here is getting specific, right? What are the opportunities we want to be able to exploit that we cannot exploit today? What are the things that are holding us back? Where is the friction? What are the problems to solve in how we operate as a company? Where are the pain points? What are the key capabilities that we don't have? Things that are missing, or knowledge or competencies that we're just too weak at, right? And this might sound easy, but it is really hard, and it really requires some soul searching and also ability to listen to each other. Oftentimes, too many times in leadership teams, we find that we have very local perspectives at the functional level, but there's a lack of active conversation, of fully listening to understand and integrating perspectives into truly finding what's going to have the biggest impact. So that's the number one thing. Two, why is there a sense of urgency? Variation of that is what's at stake. It's really about finding that thing, that that burning reason underneath our butts, if you will. Why can't we just defer decision making? Because that's another big pattern that we're seeing. A lot of organizations know that they're having things they are going to need to struggle and they need to deal with, but oftentimes the cheapest thing to do is just to wait to make a decision, right? So this is really about flipping that coin. Why do we need to make a change now? What's there to lose if we don't? And again, individually answer this, talk with your colleagues, and you have meetings where you talk about all kinds of stuff and discussing them, right? But this is really about listening to understanding, sharing an honest point of view, and then going out and talking to more people to verify that the challenges you see are challenges other people see. The risks of not taking action now are the risks that other people are seeing, right? So this is the first piece. Okay, the second one, the end of the rainbow. So this is about imagining a new future, right? And again, we spend a lot of time talking about where we are, the current situation, and why we need to change something, a major change, right? So this is about imagining that all of that is just disappeared. It doesn't even exist, right? It's about what could be possible, right? What are the new opportunities we would like to go after today that we can't go after today, right? What are the new capabilities we would like to have as an organization, as a company, right? It might be even market segments that you see. This is where we'd like to be, but in order to get there, we need A and B and C to take with us. Otherwise, we're not equipped to get there, right? And what are the outcomes we want to drive? Customer outcomes, business outcomes, and break that down if you can, right? So, are we aligned on what those are, or not? Second question is, it's a variation of that. What's possible? I already mentioned it. What's possible, but from an objective point of view. And the third question down here is about the subjective experience, right? So the first two is objective. The third one is, what would it be like to actually experiencing this possible new situation, this new company? What would it be like to work there? What would I see, feel, and experience? What would our employees see, feel, and experience? What would our customers be able to see, feel, and experience, right? Trying to see if we can get a shared view on this, right? And again, that shared view is the key here. All right, and then the third topic, which I mentioned, continuity in safety. So why am I bringing this up? Well, the advice here is really, when we're building a bit of a vision here, that's what we're doing, right? Why are we doing this? What's possible? Including that vision for this transformational change, something that's a clear element of continuity, right? And the reason for this is that there's research that suggests that this will increase engagement, it will increase support for the change, increase the willingness to participate to drive the change. And this is not just feel-good stuff, right? This is really about human nature. Organizations and companies are human system. We're working with the human people here, the human elements. And the hypothesis in this research says, we believe that it's probably the case that most people that work for your company they have something they like about that company, and that's why they're working in it or staying there. At least that they're rationalizing. I feel good here. This is a good place to work. There's something about it that they think is good. So the trap here is when we're kind of envisioning why the current situation is so full of problems that we need to do something now, and I'm contrasting here now, right? The cartoonish contrast. The current situation is so problematic, we have to do something. And the possible future that we're kind of envisioning and want to talk about is so much better and brighter, right? The trap could be that people respond to that with, you know what, that sounds like a very big change, and what if the things that I love about this company, its soul, its spirit, its history, some of the things we're doing, maybe that's just going to go all away. And I might feel threatened or very defensive about it. It's just human response. So what this really can do is it's just reframing that. You just say, okay, as we change on our journey, right? What are some of the strengths, some of the identities, relationships, and habits that we have today that we want to preserve? And maybe even we have to preserve. If we're going to go on this journey to change all the other things, we need to stay the same about these things because they're good. We want to still have them as we change. And a couple of things can happen then. First, you increase the contrast in what we want to change and what we want to preserve. So that's even better highlight of what the target problems to solve are for the transformation. And it also puts people more at ease. You know what? I agree that these things are strengths. I agree we should change these other things. I think I'm on board with this change. So you're going to get energy for free, right? So more engagement. And obviously, you're always going to have people that are more defensive and more on the fence for a longer time. But this is a thing that statistically should be helping you, right? It's also helpful to outline why we want to do things and what's on the table and what's not. So just good, going to help you communicate. All right, last piece, leadership and decision making, right? So this one is really about looking at yourself as part of a senior leadership team at the executive C level or some business unit or whatever the scope of this change might be, right? So it's just really looking, first of all, decision making, right? What are the decisions that we might need to make in order to enable this change, in order to make this transformation have a greater chance of success? So for example, we need more capacity to drive initiatives to drive change things we need to change. We need time to work on it, and people need to have that time. Maybe we need to create the focus. Maybe we need to cut some stuff, right? How much capacity do we need to free up? That can be a tough question to kind of get to. And again, it's about that alignment, right? The second could also be like, well, you know, maybe actually we need help. That could be another decision, right? We might have to up our game, so to speak, somehow, in order to increase the chances for success. And then the second piece here is more like a reflection of your own behavior, your own expectations and habits and everything. People in senior leadership positions, they're typically there because they're very competent, right? More self-aware, they have more competencies, more experience, levels of mastery, hopefully, right? But it's also, if the change is major, there might be some changes in terms of how I identify at my leadership position, some of the habits I have that might have to change in terms of new behaviors, maybe some relationships that I need to build and or at least deal with in a different way. So it might affect me. Maybe it will have to mean something for us as a team. Maybe we need to problem solve. That's a very common theme when you drive major change, like collaboration across functional areas, which Michael talked a little bit about. So yeah, it's really about, you know, understanding and acknowledging like we might have to role model differently, right? And that's the third piece there. What do we need to communicate? We might have to be the one to step first, right? So if we see, for example, if you want to see behavior to be more common in this future organization, in this transformation, this future, we might have to lead the way, be role models in that behavior. We also need to be able to communicate in a convincing way with clarity and give the support that's necessary. So when we launch initiatives to drive change, to address challenges, that we have conditions for success for those initiatives. Take responsibility for that environment. That may require decisions and alignment, right? So again, everything here is about the alignment individually and sharing points of views so we can kind of reach similar answers to these questions. All right, well, how do we know? Okay, so those are the 4 areas, right? And again, align means answering these type of questions, talking about them, discussing them, probing deeper, getting more clarity, integrating perspectives, getting a more clear narrative, what's more highly impactful, what may be causing what, but just getting that story connected, right? But how do we know we have done enough? How do we know that we're not analysis by paralysis? We're not, trying to solve all the problems before we even tell anybody. Can't we just get this show on the road? Well, here's what I would suggest as the test. How much do we have enough alignment to start the journey of change, right? So I'm going to make this statement, and if you feel that you're mostly agreeing with the statement, then you're ready. Then you can launch a major change transformation, right? The senior leadership team members, they can fully support a shared narrative for change. Narrative for change meaning the story, the why, what do we want to do, what do we don't want to change. And it needs to just be supported in a coherent story, right? I can support that shared narrative as I can feel I support it, right? And I'm also ready to communicate it with a shared voice. So I'm willing to step in and explain it to anybody that needs kind of hear my voice about it. If this is there, then you're ahead of the curve. If your whole senior leadership is there. If this is way too weak, then you need more work. Keep in mind here, I'm not saying anything about knowing what the solution is going to be or what the path is going to be like. It's enough to have alignment on the key challenges to solve and the reasons for why and what we want to gain and what we want to keep as a continuity in safety, right? And what it might require from us, so we kind of know what we're getting ourselves into. If you have all these things, you're ready to go. And finding that path that's right for us to find our path to that future is something we're going to have to typically discover along the way together with others. And that's what I was going to cover today. If there's any questions, we're ready to take some questions. And specifically, if you've had your own experience of a transformation, like we talked about, right? There was many that were inconclusive. I'm really curious to hear why. And if there's anything in what I've shared with you today that you believe, you know what, I'm not sure we had that. If we had had more of that, that could have helped. Or maybe you think, you know what, that was not the issue. We needed to do something else. I'm really curious to hear that as well. So, all right, who has the first question?
While people are thinking, so either write your question in the chat or raise your hand. And meanwhile, I can start with a question. This seems to be a super useful kind of question battery for a leadership team to really answer before you start this big change initiative. How do you kind of in practice work with this? Is it like a couple of workshops, a 1-day retreat, or over time? Do you have any kind of practical suggestions?
Yeah, so typically people at the very senior levels, they don't have a lot of time, right? Because everything is really saturated, and for a reason, right? Typically, they're just very skilled as well. So the typical way to start is to really try to just think about these things individually over time. And in your normal meetings, when you discuss everything in your leadership meetings, you just spend some time on this over time. So it's really about something that emerges over time, right? If you want to do a specific activity to up it, yes, you can do a retreat or you can do a workshop. But I would advise that you start small and just integrate this type of thinking if if you have a situation like, we need to consider major change, if that's the case, you typically know it, right? Or if you don't know it, it might happen after a new CEO comes in, because guess what? The owners are not, want some change. And then the agenda is clear, like we need to deal with, we need to do something. And then it's somehow on the table. So I think in practice it develops over the time, but I think you can do a lot as a senior team members, like start asking these type of questions, and in your normal day-to-day relationships and conversation. I think that would be the main way to do it. But then as you start to get closer, you say, I think we're really, we're probing, we're considering, we're talking to people. Like when you're getting closer and closer, and you kind of you can feel it, right? Then it's like, yeah, let's do retreat. Let's see kind of we can get the bottom of this. And maybe you also one thing you can do to support something like that is to make sure you talk to a lot of people in the organization, kind of ask these type of questions, see what comes up, to kind of validate your own ideas.
Yeah, so even if it's getting that kind of foundation in the leadership team, it's not something done only in the leadership team. This has to be evolving the organization to answer these questions.
Yeah, if you have strong leaders that kind of bring problems to the surface, or have a culture that's held, like it's okay to bring, hey, we might need to do something about X, then use those mechanisms. If you don't, then you might have to establish that as a leader. But you also have a one-on-ones with people, so hopefully issues will surface. But yeah, many different ways to do it. Of course, you can get somebody to come in, a facilitate to come in and do a workshop. But yeah. Do I have a blog post on this subject? Yes. Can share it in the chat later.
I'll see if I find it quickly.
The post is very dense, or few words, high density of things. It's a big topic, that's why it's hard to summarize. But I took a stab at it here today. But Maya, maybe you have a specific question. Please free to talk about it. Like, what are your thoughts?
No, not really. I'm just curious because I'm right now in a management team myself, and strategy is always on our mind, and how we sort of can dig deeper into these subjects that you talked about.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have any reasons to do a major change of something? Is that what's on your mind, or is it more like product strategy?
Yeah, as you said, a new CEO came in a couple of years ago, and she's wanting to drive some change. I don't think it has been totally successful. So it's ongoing work, and maybe some of her thoughts needs to and the leadership team needs to sort of change along the way as well, try and learn and then adapt along the way.
All right,
so
thanks.
Nothing sort of specific.
Thanks for sharing. Anybody else who want to mention something?
I think it's time actually for the 10-minute break. It's 3:55. But I shared the link to your blog there.
Yeah. So thank you so much for spending some time with me. Hopefully it gave you some sort of ideas and insights. Thanks.
Thank you, Mathias. And we have now 10-minute break until we have Thomas Björkholm talking about Renden High. And I can guarantee you that will be an exciting session on the future of organization. So see you in 10 minutes.